Niaje, karibu sana to another Sanaa kwa Sana interview, another Sanaa kwa Sana conversation on this 30th day of June. June imeisha and the month itself ties to the conversation we are about to have. It's our second conversation with the person who will be joining us and coming through, but katika zone yake ya jina tofauti, kutumia jina lake la hip hop, the producer, the Nairobi Nomad, Elias M. Rumbi. We had a conversation with him early this year, mid-January, on the 16th of January. We had a conversation live on Instagram with Rumbi to kickstart the year, and he joined us kutuambia kuhusu his 26-track project that he's been doing, and at the moment he is halfway through it. So he shall be joining us today as the Nairobi Nomad, simultaneously as Rumbi, and he shall let us know how the project has been thus far, but importantly to have another discussion, an extension of an interview that I shared earlier this morning about his latest project, June Reconstructed, which is a remix EP of Just Another June, an EP that he released in 2020. That was in July of that apocalyptic year. The world was coming to an end. So the Nairobi Nomad shall be joining us, and we shall be talking more about June Reconstructed, and then we can also delve into his ambitious 26-track project that he has been pursuing in 2023, and as of today it marks the 13th track that he has released. So he's been consistent, and we shall be discussing that and delving into the details of that project and the details of June Reconstructed. This remix EP I have talked about, and I have said we are having an extension of the same with Rumbi. The reason I have said that is because we have had a conversation with him on the EP, which I published on the blog earlier this morning. It is the Nairobi Nomad speaks on his new EP, June Reconstructed. Hi, Abby. I was literally some moments ago listening to your Madaraka events review before this session, and then you are here. Were you listening to me listen to you? And the Nomad mwenyewe is also here. Let me invite him. So this is weird. So it seems I cannot add you. Yes. This is exactly what I was about to state. So as I was saying just before I came here, I was listening to Ongeza Volumes Madaraka Day events reviews on YouTube review. So check that out. Ongeza Volume is the name. Check that out on YouTube. And listen to Abby break down the Kenyan art scene and also talk about some other stuff as well. And Rumbi has sent the request, so we are about to start. Thank you for being here, Abby, and for joining this conversation. Thank you as well, the Nairobi Nomad, for joining us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Are you getting me clearly on your end?
Yeah, I can hear you proper. I can see you proper.
I can also hear you. I can see your soundproofing behind you.
Okay, let me tell you, man, DIY, but it works. It's crazy.
You've been.
I've got mattresses all around, so we call it Mattress City.
Not Basic City.
No. Basic City lives in Mattress City.
When did you set that up?
This has been like this for, I think, 2 years.
Mm.
Yeah, so I have modified it a bit, and I think it's kind of represented my journey. So it really started as a studio. It had a booth and everything, and it's slowly become more of an office space. So because I do a lot more admin now, so there is still a section for recording, but now it looks more like yeah, I guess a home office.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a blend. It's a combination of an office and a
Yeah,
studio.
because you can see a bass in the back.
Yeah, for sure. Props, props, props. Thank you for joining us. What's up with your Nairobi Nomad account? It doesn't allow you to join sessions.
I actually wanted to use the Rumbi one because I believed it would have bigger reach, and then I wanted the NairobiNomad to join just so if people wanted to check it out, like while in the live, they can go there.
Okay, okay. So joining us today is the Nairobi Nomad Elias Rumbi, whom I have said we had a discussion and a conversation with early in the year, mid-January, and he shared with us details about his 26-track project, which I have also mentioned. So we shall be delving into that as well. But the main focus of our conversation today is his latest work, June Reconstructed, and the final track, Just Another June. The remix came out earlier today. So according to the format we did the last time, we shall also start like that as well, and then get into the
Yeah,
conversation.
let's go.
So let's start with what is your current favorite song?
Uh, well, because I released them one as an instrumental and one as a track with rappers on. I say instrumentally, Say What, amazing. Has a nice Afro hip hop vibe, and Just Another June, because I don't know, there's something about Boy Black's verse that hits different.
And outside of your project, generally, what's your current favorite song?
Um, there's a song called you know what, I can actually check this because I'm near my laptop and I'm really
Sure,
enjoying
sure.
this track. Uh, please, oh yeah, Please Do Not Lean on Me by Daniel Caesar.
Mm. Is it from his latest project?
Yes, I still haven't given the album a listen, but just from that single, I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it.
What is your best performance that you've had so far this year?
Ooh, um, I had a performance in March at a poetry show. I performed some of my original songs for the first time, and I got a standing ovation. It was crazy. It's one of the best shows ever. I felt wild, yo. It was beautiful.
Yeah. What does that do to you while experiencing that?
It is, first of all, it's very awkward because you're used to getting a few claps and then you leave, and then people are still clapping, and then they stand up and you're like, oh, so we need to stand here, and you're shaking and nodding, but it's really an affirmation because it's like, oh, I can do something that moves people. You know what I mean?
Ignore the question you're seeing on your screen. Ignore the question.
Look, we can make things happen. Industry dance on this IG live chat. We will make things happen. Oh, shout out to Matipa for the beautiful day.
Yeah, yeah. Matipa says I was there, loved it. Oh, Uncle Theory says Africa is also a rapper. Would you
Talent.
feature him? And then Abby says it's the same person. Crazy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Rumbi wears many hats, literally and figuratively. Okay, studio or stage?
Hmm. Studio.
Mm.
But that's only because studio is slightly easier. With stage, there's rehearsals and all of that. If I had a budget, I think I would do stage because I've done so much studio. So I'd really like to take my work and like bring it to life. But with the current situation and how we're working, it's studio.
So Mattress City over standing ovations.
Metro City was standing ovations for now, but we're trying to move up. We're trying to move out.
So if you were to be one song from your catalog this year, what would it be?
Ooh, damn. That is one of the best questions I've ever heard. I've never thought of that. I would say Closure, probably, which is I think the second or the third track I dropped. I feel I am going through a lot of changes in perspective, changes in terms of the person I am, and change, growth, and develop comes with, I guess, healing. So I feel like a closure from some things.
So closure encapsulates your current state and how you're feeling and you're being the best.
Yeah,
Okay. And then lastly, what was the first song to work on the project?
it was. I feel like it was just another June, and that's probably also why I loved it so much because that's kind of what inspired like the whole sound of everything else. But if not just another June, say what? One of the two.
Yeah, and those are the songs that you've mentioned as your favorites.
Yes, yes, yes.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. Thank you, thank you. So how are you feeling today?
I am, like the releases are out, which is really great. Track 13 dropped and the EP dropped, and it's a relief, and it also feels good because it's like I can really keep track of my year. If you ask me what I've done this year, musically, I can tell you. Outside of music, I can tell you, and I like the fact that I can keep myself that accountable. I've done quite a bit this year, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, even before we get further into the conversation later, and you've been releasing these tracks and you've kept it consistent every 2 weeks. How has that been for you in terms of, are you using it as a measure of, yes, I have been able to achieve what I set to achieve, and how are you feeling about that?
I think now it's more of a thing of I want to finish it because I started it, and I feel like I should finish what I started. And this is one thing I can 100% keep track of. If I say I'm putting out a track every second week, it's been every second week, and there was a week that was a week or two that were close where I wasn't sure if I would put a song out, but things have happened, they're still happening. So I do really want to finish it. I think it's also helped me in terms of just like releases in general, how to approach a release, what you can do, what you can't do. I think like the first release of the year, Lose, that was like one of the best rollouts we ever did. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't release the song. How I feel about it in general, I feel good. I feel like a lot of the songs have done well and they've resonated with people quite a bit. So it's dope to be able to present to people like, yo, these are 13 songs I did this year that people really liked and that I personally am proud of myself.
Yeah, yeah. So as we also now getting into the 26 track project, which you talked about when we were here in January, outside of releasing and being consistent, and then you also mentioned that people are resonating with the music. What else are other points of success for you based on this project?
So one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to try and get a press for each one of the songs. So if not a blog feature, Twitter mention, a Facebook post, something like that. And I haven't been able to do it for every song. But what has happened is that some songs have gotten multiple blog coverage, so it's kind of spread across. And because like the company I work for, Ahadi, we are into artist development, and that's partly like pushing artists and getting them interviews. We can actually like we have a blueprint now that we can be like, oh, we can do this for you, we can do that for you. So it's nice that what I'm doing behind the scenes is helping me beyond just being my own artist, like it's for other people as well.
And I have noticed that about you, and I'd love to dive into that further. Why is press and media coverage important to you? Because you've been consistent on that front for
Yeah.
a while now.
Um, I I think it's probably I feel like I watched it in a YouTube video probably a long time ago, but I also connected with the idea of it being your CV. It is it's more of a statement of where you are at a certain time. So I'm lucky in that I've been covered by different blogs and different like publications like around the world, and I can see the difference in relationship for like 4 years ago and now. Because now there are people I talk to, and I'm like, hey, yo, what's up, man? It's been a minute. How are you? And a while ago, that would have been like, dear sir, please find this track. So that's pretty dope.
And and you're also meticulous about it, which I absolutely love. When you're reaching out and you're communicating, the way that you share your details about your projects with press releases, with bios, with links to the work itself and all of this, where where was that coming from? Or where does that come from for you? And how have you built it to this point in time?
So I think one thing for me is like if you're gonna do something, you might as well do it right. So I don't like giving myself that space to be like, you could have done it better, especially with admin because I lean into it. So like thank you for saying that the emails come through nicely because there are times I'll notice like I might have made a spelling error or I might have made an ISRC code and I put an old one instead of a new one, and those things kind of stress me out. I'm also very lucky in terms of like my dad, my old man, really instilled like the whole idea of hard work, discipline, and just being that meticulous. So I feel like I'm a fraction of how he moves, but I have been able to apply that effectively to my music career. You know, I like thinking of it as a job. If you have a job, you know, you need to keep records, you need to have a CV, you need to have objectives, deadlines, pretty much that.
Has the media approach been successful when you are around, when you are here?
It,
How did that go?
I, it wasn't as easy, but I think it's because I was doing more of live stuff when I was there. So I was with Rosie at work. So I did transition to like solo when I did leave. But I do think the whole idea of being outside of the country does feed um, one's career because like now most of my listener base is back home. But because it's not easy to connect with me, it kind of creates like an air of mystery type of thing. It's like who's that guy in South
So
Africa making music?
the prophet isn't accepted at home.
Yo, you appreciate.
So the reason I thought you had changed the title of the EP from Reconstructed to Reinvented
Mm.
is because I saw some posts that you had shared on your social media where you were mentioning June Reinvented. So that is why I was a bit confused. I thought you had transitioned from Reconstructed to Reinvented.
Those are
You
small
can tell
mistakes.
the people who
Ah,
you can tell the people what the EP is all about.
oh wait. So June Reconstructed is a four-track EP. It's a remix EP of a project I dropped in June 2022 called Just Another June. And I was supposed to drop it last year, but the way it worked is that my laptop, bro, my laptop just smashed, and I had to push the project that's coming out next month and this project back by a whole year. But I wanted to kind of show where I am as a producer. I wanted to pick up the Nairobi Nomad. So I'm already working on like two other projects as the Nairobi Nomad. And I thought the best way to kind of keep it or to get it up running is to start where I started the first time. Because I dropped like the four-track EP, two tracks, and then I stopped. And now I'm like, I'm coming back. I'm coming strong. This is what I sound like now. Let's vibe, let's move.
When did the reconstruction process begin? You've said that you started with Just Another June, or say what? When did that process begin and when did it end?
So interestingly enough, it started June last year. So it started in June. I took just another June and I started playing around with it, moving things around. I've started using a lot of strings in my work, a lot of brass sounds. So those were kind of feeding into it. And then I was like, okay, I'd like this project to not just be about me. I'd like to just kind of do something with it for other people. So I reached out to like the people who I work with very closely, which is instrumentalists, guitarists, bassists, and a few rappers who either we have had songs that were supposed to come out, didn't come out, or people who I admire and respect and wanted to work to. And we kind of just started putting it together, piecing it together. I wanted it to be a non-traditional project in terms of like, you don't know where this chorus is, you don't know where this verse is. It's just music.
And so before you, because you said you wanted to release it earlier, but your laptop did its thing, when did you complete it and when did you want to release it initially?
I had wanted to drop it actually as my last project of the year last year, but the way things worked out, we were actually pushing the deadline pretty close. So some of the songs were done by February, but like there was some that by end of April, May, we were still kind of tweaking and we're like, oh, can you fix this part? Can you send in this new part? But luckily, it kind of came in time.
actually feel it makes sense that it's been released now and the month is June and you've been releasing the individual tracks from the project
Yeah.
in June. I feel
So
it makes
it's
sense
not
and
just
fit.
another June.
And the final track came out earlier today on top of another track, your project with Kilihipi. How do you feel now that the EP is finally out?
I, I feel, I mean, there's always a bit of relief because it's like I'm done, the weight off my shoulders. The reception has been pretty dope. That is always nice, and I feel like I'm gonna say this again, like a lot. I feel good. I feel good about it. I enjoy the project. Obviously, that whenever you listen to some of your work, you're like, oh, I could have done better with this. I could have done better with that. But I can sit back and be like, oh, I like what I'm hearing. I can send it to someone and be like, yo, check this out. I think you'd enjoy it.
And I'm curious because when you are undertaking such a project where you're releasing a track every fortnight and then you have an EP as well and you're working on Reimagined, which is another project as well, and you're constantly releasing stuff, the admin in you and the artist manager in you and the marketer in you, what are those KPIs looking like? Are
Oh,
you focused on considering how these tracks are performing, or now because it's track after another, you don't have time to delve into the analytics and how the numbers and the response look like? Give us a picture.
I feel like I will never not have time to look at the analytics. I'm a big numbers person. I love my
Mm.
math. I love my stats. So I will, like, let me give an example. So like the whole, and this is boring for people who don't like math and stats. I'm apologies, but like the cool thing with like these type of things is that you can use them to project going forward. And what I've noticed with the last 3 or 4 releases is that I've gotten an idea of if I know how many streams my song has by the end of the day, I can project when it's gonna hit 2,000 streams, 3,000 streams, 4,000 streams. So I'm very in touch with like my numbers and how the songs move. And I also feel you notice the playlist your songs get on. So I'm seeing which sound of mine is appreciated more. So I still have a lot of time for that back end, and I'm really giving it a lot. The thing is, you just kind of have to balance it with the idea of like, okay, this song is out. I need to know how it's doing, and I need to use that for the next 2 songs. But you still need to be thinking about those next 2 songs actually coming out because they're already in the process of coming out.
So within these 2 weeks of releasing a track, that is when you are looking at your analytics and then also planning for the following release.
Yeah, so the date comes out between that day and Sunday, like I'm really on my numbers. So then I'm seeing where I've been playlisted. I'm seeing how many streams it's gotten. I'm seeing whether I have more listeners, how many saves it has. And then from there, I kind of keep track every other day with the idea that the next song is, because the idea is like, you want to aim for certain playlists. So I can be like, what I'll do is like, if I saw maybe a song 2 weeks from now might not perform, 4 weeks from now might not perform as well, I might push it to later.
We've always had conversations here about the audience and the artist relationship. How much of influence do you allow the audience to seep into your work?
Mm, damn. I feel like it depends on how I feel, which is a crappy thing. Because there are times where I will be like, I don't care what people think. I want to put out a certain sound. But when I'm forced to structure it, then I do think of the best. I guess the best of what will appeal. And if I see pushback in terms of like I don't enjoy it, unless I have a vision for it, because sometimes you're just trying things. Sometimes you're like, oh, I want to experiment with this. I want to experiment with that. Unless I have a passion with it, I'll be like, I'll come back to it later. Like the music will always be there.
So if you're listening to us and you have no idea, I said Rumbi is a person of many hats. And speaking on analytics and numbers, that was the economist and data
I,
scientist, Rumbi.
I'm really trying to integrate that. Like, I'd love to have like a young, what is it called? You can have like programs that run in like your like Python or R that analyze stuff off the net, and I would really enjoy that because then I'd have like my own spreadsheets just coming in. But one day is one day.
Love it, love it. So during your creative process, did you have any direct or indirect influences, musically or otherwise, for the EP?
Mm, I think with Say What, I was definitely going for more Afro hip hop sound. So there was a need to kind of give it that bounce and swing. And the idea was that it needed to feel overall groovy. So like I listened to a bit of Fela Kuti, and then in general I was listening to a lot of Afro pop because we were doing a lot of shows. So that really seeped into the music. With Just Another June, I was going for more like like if you had the opportunity to do like one of your songs on strings, you're like, oh, do it, that type of thing. So I wanted to add some of that, and then it already had like a kind of jazzy vibe. So I listened to a lot of jazz, so I was kind of just throwing in the dissonance. You can hear like the keys kind of just fighting near the end, but it was really, yeah, very intentional.
Any indirect influences?
Mm, Let me see. I probably feel like the people around me and the shows I attend, because that's where a lot of times where inspiration comes from. You'll see people jamming, you're like, oh damn, like I need to go do something at home.
Mm. And then I would love for you to take us through the artwork for the individual tracks. Again, the person I'm speaking to does so much and has so many facets. So the artist
Mm-hmm.
in you, because I noted the style, the style from Funk is Forever, Meander, Say What to Just Another June. And Meander was a little bit different from the rest. So I'd love to understand what you are intending to achieve and where you are pulling from stylistically, looking at the artworks for the individual songs.
So the way I come up with my cover art is so like I'm a one-man team. So what I normally do is like I have I run through in like ChatGPT where I'll do my song descriptions, my emails, and I will normally put together like prompts for cover art. And then I'll go into like Dolly 2, run a few prompts, and then I'll kind of pick what I feel appeals most to the song itself, which is why Just Another June, the actual song itself has flowers, because depending on which part of the world you're in, I guess, or what most people will consider mainstream at the time, it's, if I'm not wrong, spring turning to summer. So, you have a lot of flowers. And with Say What, it's just like there's a lot of vibrancy in the drums and vibrancy in the songs, and you kind of see that with the cover of those strokes, just like brush strokes. Meander in itself, the idea is that it's not a song with not direction per se, but an endpoint. Going to just go, and you can kind of see that with the lines, like they're just going around. And can I remember the cover for Funk is Forever? I
The
it's
style,
it's like a it's
the
a
style for
picture.
Funk is Forever is similar to Say What and Just Another June in terms of
It's a sketch.
colors,
Yeah,
color scheme.
yes. And I used to sketch, so and I'm trying to pick it up. So when I see like there's certain just art styles that appeal to me more. So I really like black and white, and the Funk is Forever kind of had like a pencil, kind of like a charcoal feel, which is, I don't know, looks dope to me.
So apart from that, even that you've mentioned ChatGPT
Mm.
and AI, is there any other way that that sort of technology has influenced your work this year outside of the EP?
Mm, Sometimes it gives me perspective. You know what I mean? Like what I try to do is like I would try to do a song description the way I feel the song is described, and then I'll put my lyrics in ChatGPT and I'll be like, describe the song using these lyrics. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it in that way, or I didn't think of it in that way. And a lot of the times that you kind of have like a foundation that is similar. So you like, I kind of have the same idea, kind of get the same thing from my lyrics, which is cool because it means you're not just putting words down. You know, like they come together to mean
So you
something.
haven't you haven't reached a point where ChatGPT is playing your bass lines for you and your guitar riffs.
No, no. I did tell it to try and write an Rumbi song, which was like that was last year when I was experimenting with it, and it was pretty interesting. So I would like to do the thing of maybe if I put all of my lyrics together this year, of like certain songs, and then see what it would come up with. and then try and build a melody around that. Maybe do a 4-track EP.
When you did that, what came out?
Ooh, very sad stuff. Like someone's heart was getting broken. I was like the first time I put it in, it was a bit sunny. I was like, no, my songs are a bit sad, and then it just hit the nail on the head. I was like, yeah, no, this is beautiful. It's crazy.
Where is the line?
It was like, I know you.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. So tell us about the features and how they fit into the EP.
Oh wait, so when I'm picking features, if I do not have the person in mind once like the song is being produced, it'll kind of come to me as I'm listening to it, as I'm bumping it. So I knew from the get-go, just another June, I wanted Boy Black on it. So I reached out to him, and we kind of back and forth with the track, and then I think I also asked him to do Say What. That didn't work out. So while I was doing that, I also told now Basic Malcolm, I was like, hey man, I'd like basically to do a few like songs on this. And what we were trying to experiment with Basic City, the idea that if Basic City is a duo, so if one of us is on the track, it still represents both of us. So we kind of gave that picture on it. Um, Spitsmatic for Funk is Forever. He's been an old friend. I like what he does. I kind of felt like that beat grooved with him. That's what he was supposed to do. He dropped a verse. I was like, it needs a bit more. I hit up Chabole, who I'm a big fan of, and I was like, yo, do you want to do something on it? He came through. I think that's my favorite verse on the song. Like, my favorite song is Just Another June. My favorite verse is Chabole's verse. It's fire. And then Meander. Unfortunately, the proper version of Meander is not really out. I know if people have heard it. That one now features Basic City and Waves, Dinero. And it's just different, man. It's just three different vibes on three different verses. It's really a journey. And then you have this guitar playing in the background. And also with the guitarist, I was very intentional with the guitarist. I was like, I want the song to fit what you're playing. And like the last two songs are the same guy, Moisa Chipe. Best, big fan. He does nothing but the nicest stuff. And his playing is so emotive. And it moves. It has a lot of movement in it. And you can hear that Say What and Just Another June have a lot of movement in it. While with Meander, you kind of get lost in the crunch of the guitar that I kind of threw in the back. So it does make your mind just kind of wander and meander. And with Funk is Forever, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's funky.
And you've worked with most of these people before. You've worked with
Yes.
Moise on a lot of tracks that I've listened to from you. And it was good to see you having a track with the multi-syllabic master Traboli,
Yo,
always killing to these schemes.
he's a beast, really. He's a beast, really. Yo.
And I was thinking about this, that when you first knew about us and we started talking and communicating, I remember asking you how you knew we existed, and you mentioned a Traboli review. I was thinking about that actually recently, that of the first video you watched of us
It
was our
was,
review of Sadfa in
yeah, because I
2020.
listened to the track and I was like, let me check it out on YouTube. And first of all, let me give you guys props because I joke about it, but I really do mean it when I say like we are the A&R and industry giants, like because we are building the industry now. You know, the reality of the modern music entertainment industry is what we are doing. So the fact that you guys are doing live reviews, YouTube reviews, video reviews, it's crazy. And you were doing this a while ago. So I saw that, I was like, what? And it's an album I like. I jumped in immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have heard that from different people, because it seems they don't expect it to happen because our scene has not cultivated criticism
Mm-hmm.
and the art of criticism, because we also have a recent follower and someone who found out we exist recently. I think they were looking for maybe a Costa or Joang project or something along those lines, and then they came across our review of
Mm-hmm.
the project and some reaction videos, and they were in awe that, oh, people, there's a group there's someone out here doing this and it exists. So it's beautiful to hear that from you as well.
And it means you guys are
And
definitely
then
picking up, you know what I mean? Because if people are looking for the songs and then you're one of the immediate thing, like people that are coming out, like it means that people are actively engaging with your stuff, so you are being pushed up. So I feel like it's just up and up.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And you mentioned this in our interview that getting into this project and the sort of mind state you were in was sort of to satisfy the section of your fans that are craving the hip hop side of you. Why was this important to the Nairobi Nomad to satisfy his rap fans and hip hop fans?
Bec- I think when I say like there is a niche audience for that, so before I started with making indie rock, indie pop type of stuff, but unfortunately my guitar skills were not up to par. So I moved into like hip hop and neo soul, and I was pretty good at it. So a lot of the people who first connected with my music connected with a lot of beats, a lot of hip hop esque neo soul R&B stuff, and then I kind of just stopped it. So on the ground, people will be like, "Hey, yo, Rumbi, are you making beats?" And I'll be like, "I'm making songs now." So now I can still tell them I'm making songs, but I have some beats you can check out. You know, I have something you can go vibe to.
And I'm glad you've mentioned your guitar skills because something else that you mentioned when I asked you about the low moments and high moments that you had, you mentioned not being able to articulate certain ideas as you wanted, as you desired. How are you able to deal with that or overcome that, if at all you did?
I mean, it made me start practicing like heavy. So I've kind of or I feel like I kind of plateaued with my guitar playing. I wasn't learning anything new. I was doing the same thing. So while I was working on the project, there were certain ideas I was trying, and some of them came off pretty nice. I'm like, oh, this sounded nice, but there's a lot of stuff I feel if I had been doing more, if I had started doing what I'm doing now earlier, it would have changed the way the project moved. It would have changed the sonics of it entirely, and it would have been a much, much greater project. So I try not to think about it in terms of like, because the music is already out, it doesn't help, and I'm not planning on remixing the remixes. But what I am doing now is I'm picking music and actively trying to put new guitar parts that I'm learning or new guitar skills and techniques so that I am actively learning as I make music.
So now, since you won't be remixing the remix, are we getting the other version of Meander?
I'm trying to put it out. I want to go fight with my DSP because I publish the theNairobiNomad through Ahadi and then Rumbi's through Paradise. So I need to. They're saying it's. Oh my god! It'll be out in 2 weeks, guys. Fingers crossed.
I think, was it Say What or Meander that was supposed to come out on a particular day? And then I saw you mention that 1 RPM had messed up or something didn't happen on their end.
Yeah, look, I really believe in like putting, like, it's not putting them on blast, but it's a certain accountability because I feel like a lot of customer supports, and I mean this with like, I've used different ones. I've used Amuse, I've used Ditto, I've used DistroKid, and the one thing I can consistently say is customer support is like trash. So if you're not gonna reply to my message, and like I'm very particular about my dates, I pick dates for a reason, you know. It's not easy just to move things. So I'm like, guys, like I wanted the song to come out. The reason it's not out is because this distributor is slacking. Consider this distributor when you distribute music. You know what I mean?
Do you, what's your current go-to distributor?
So luckily, as Rumbi, I have a distribution deal. So I'm with Paradise Africa. So that's it's nice because it's a very individual relationship. I can have someone who's assigned to me that I deal with specifically. If you if you have the budget for it, I'd say DistroKid is like the worst option, but it's the best worst option because a lot of the other ones are you have to apply to let you apply and then they're like, okay, cool, we like your music, you can release with us, but that means you need to have a certain sound, a certain following, and a certain fan base.
Mm. The best worst option. That sounds like our politicians and how we vote.
Ah, man, that is so painfully true. Najivunia
Uh,
kuwa
Do
Mkenya.
you do you do you have political stuff?
I feel like if I did, do I have? I'd probably be more anti-establishment, like all around, like issues with the system, instead not per se with particular persons. Like I'd be like, the institution in itself is corrupt, so anyone who is trying to come up in that system and be a leader is deformed to fit that idea of leadership. So yeah, tear the whole thing down.
So
That's
you
like
are for a
4 years ago.
complete overhaul.
I really feel like it's the only way. Like the great Ngugi wa Thiong'o said, the first thing we should have done after 1963 is we should have like decolonized the institutions, and that means like from the very base level. I feel like we need to, or maybe our leaders, let me say that, need to be able to find a value in themselves and thus find value in Africans and Africa.
Let me ask you this: if even just even comparing where you are and the political situation there and what usually happens socially and tying to deeply rooted historical concerns as well as back home here in Kenya, do you feel we are far gone? Do you feel there are possible solutions
Mm.
systemically?
Like so, with the whole idea of like if change can be done, because I do feel like change needs to be a whole like system, institution, everything needs to be overturned. I don't know how we do that. I don't know if we'd be able to, but in terms of the people, I can see like, or at least the way I see it is that the way Kenyan people articulate themselves, both politically, like individually, is, I think the freedom of expression is a reflection of intellect and political assertion. Like I see within the next 10, 20 years, leaders being held more and more accountable, because I see it now. I see it now on Twitter. I see it now. And I think it's going to reflect more and more as now people, because I think eventually it reaches a point where you're like, I have to be the change, or there's not going to be any change.
Interestingly, I was having this conversation, I think, a week or 2 weeks back, and the idea was an observation on political apathy,
Mm.
looking at the previous elections and how a majority of the youth didn't show
Yeah.
up to vote. And I would love to hear what you think in terms of political apathy in the next 10 or so years, the next elections and maybe the one after. What do you think would be the rate of political apathy and what we are looking at in terms of voting and also younger people
Mhm.
participating actively in politics?
I think, well, I probably am if not a perpetrator, victim of political apathy. It's very hard for me to tell people to go and vote or for myself to vote. But I think also we need to take more responsibility as individuals. I think we can do a lot of change. I don't know why we feel like we need to wait for 5 or 10 years for someone to do something for us. If you decide as a community that you want to fix something, change something, then you can do that. You just need to put your mind to it. Um, my contrast of South Africa and Kenya would be that like South Africa has a lot of programs where the government puts money into the community to try and to grow and develop, like institutions and grass level communities, and that is dope. I don't know if it's being executed well. While I don't see that as much in Kenya, so it's the whole idea of we are surviving against our government, not because of our government. Like the government's trying to tax us more, it's trying to, so that kind of has built an ingenuity into people. They say necessity is the mother of all invention. So I feel like if we applied that with the idea of like, I don't need to wait until elections, I don't need to wait for a leader to change things. Like we are the leaders, we are the community. Because if you do that, then anyone who tries to come out from among you and says, "Oh, I would like to run for something," you can hold them to a certain level because you know what that level is. You have an expectation as a community.
Mm. And as we also conclude this conversation, what has this leader in front of us at Ahadi has in plan for the rest of the year? What should people be looking out for from Rumbi, from the Nairobi Nomad, from City?
Well, let me see, from M Rumbi, there's another 13 songs, guys. That's gonna be a long trip. Let's go, let's go. I have a 4-track EP coming out called See Me, See Me Reimagined. I'm really excited about that one. We have like a few one music video, maybe another one, a lyric visualizer, and it's going to be, I guess, sonically, it's going to be like just another June in that it's going to be very different from everything in this year. And I'm very excited to see how people respond to it and just what people are going to say. I can comfortably now say that I do have an Afrobeat EP coming out. Like I was on the fence about whether it would drop. The vocalists have been writing the hook, so we're trying to pen a few verses for that. And I know what my next project is going to be as theNairobiNomad. It's going to be called Samples of a True Story. I like names. Names be dope. And that aside, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of artists in the city. We're supposed to be going to Ghana. We're supposed to be going to Zimbabwe. We're trying to make that happen, so outside of just creating opportunities for artists, we're trying to put them in places where these opportunities actually take off, do happen, and can be sustainable for them in terms of being a professional entertainer, musician, or creative as a career.
Was remixing just another June the impetus for you also reimagining See Me, See Me?
It was actually the other way around. I started
Ah,
with See Me, See Me, and then I went into Just Another June. I was actually planning on like remastering everything from 2022 and 21 because I was re-uploading it now through my other distribution. I kind of wanted to. There's a whole thing of like, ooh, certain things would have sounded better. Luckily, I didn't get the time because it would have chowed me. And I instead focused on See Me Reimagined and June Reconstructed.
eh, this is you in your Kanye bag. You never finish something, you keep reworking.
uh, no.
You upload,
It's
you take
wild.
down, you put a verse, you remove a verse.
No. It's wild because I've slowed down. There was a time where I used to do like 3, 4 beats. I used to like 2019, 2018, and 20. I just have like a folder full of projects of beats, like 30 in a month, 20 in a month. So I feel like I've slowed down. Age is a problem, man. I don't know if people can see my gray hairs through the IG live. Uh, but I also feel like because of that, I am working a bit more structured. Like it has a bit more structure and it's healthier. Is it the healthiest? No, but it's healthier. You know what I mean?
I am super glad that you mentioned Samples of a True Story because I wanted to ask you if you can give us a snippet or a synopsis of what to expect from that project, which is the next project from the theNairobiNomad.
So with Samples of a True Story, what I would like to do is I'm going to take a few of my favorite tracks from Rumbi and I'm going to sample them, like bass sample, and then build like a whole new track from them. And then I will like communicate with a few musicians, a few rappers, a few vocalists. If you think you're the one, slide into my DMs. And I want to send them the original and then the beat and be like, whatever you get from this song, see if you can write something like on it for this new one. Because I like the whole idea of like articulating in perspective and how that changes from one person to another, the contrast, the juxtaposition. Yeah.
Mm, Love it. I love the idea. Love the idea. Love the idea. And I see there's a lot of reworking that you are currently existing in
Yeah.
mentally. So I love it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Any final words and thoughts that you like to share?
I mean, first one would always be thank you for everyone who's tuning in and just connecting with the music, sending me nice, because I do get nice messages from people. It's always nice to hear someone's like, oh, this song really meant a lot to me. They also mean a lot to me, so the messages do go a long way. Do check out my new song. I don't know why, it's giving like 007 vibes, and I want to see if it's just me who's feeling it, man. Like, Tame It is, I don't know, I'm really vibing with Tame It. It's an interesting sound. And man, really thank you and keep on doing it. Love your glasses. Thank you very much, yo. I like them too. Now I love them. I just needed that little boost from like to love. Thank you.
Affirmation.
Man, yo, it goes a long way. Show these kids love.
So for musicians and instrumentalists who are listening and would love to work with Rumbi or the theNairobiNomad, where did they get in touch?
I would say the best place is to hit me up on any of my socials. Ideally, Rumbi on Instagram. There's actually quite a few people who have reached out now. I did a call for vocalists for. I'm working on my project for 2024. So I'm doing like 6 EPs. I'm halfway through, luckily. So I feel like I'm actually gonna send you the demos at the end of the year to see what you think of them, just because it's gonna be a very interesting year sonically. So I'd like to know what you think. But yeah, just hit me up. Uh, Please be a bit patient sometimes. Things do get hectic on my end. Aside from like making music, we're doing like projects and we're trying doing funding besides. So I'm not always in the studio able to make music, but I'm always trying to.
Thank you so much. Where can finally listeners find your music?
You can find M Rumbi's music everywhere, anywhere, all the time. That's M.Rumbi on YouTube, Spotify, and all of that. And the Nairobi Nomad as one word on YouTube, Spotify, and all major streaming platforms. Um, do I have any other stuff? If you'd like to see my photography, because I used to do photography, you can check out my old Instagram, Rosie Rumbi.
Hey, Rumbi does everything. Artist management, they're curating events,
Hey,
organizing festivals.
let me
I
throw
was
that
to
in.
ask,
If you think I can
yeah,
make your career happen, you know, we're actually doing it on a very serious note. We just signed, I think, 3 publishing and distribution deals. So when I say we're actively trying to like platform and develop artists, like we're trying to use the skills I have, the skills the rest of the guys on the team have, to push these artists further. We got to push out like an instrumental track last month. Got it like a few blog placements, a few radio placements. So the vision is real and clear.
I wanted to follow up on something you'd mentioned earlier because from the details you'd sent,
Mm,
you had said you're supposed to perform in Zimbabwe on the 26th.
yeah.
Did the dates change?
So they moved it to end of October, beginning of November. It was like I think 9 weeks, 9 days, and now they made it 2 weeks because I think they got funding, and they also had a lot more people than expected. So they wanted to give themselves a bit more time.
Okay, okay. And Naira has said, I'm a vocalist and would love to work with you. I shall be patient. Slide, slide in the DMs. Rumbi will be there waiting. So yes, as you've heard, run the numbers up for Rumbi. Check out his YouTube channel. Please do subscribe and listen to the songs. Also, go over at the Nairobi Nomad on YouTube as well and his Instagram and run the numbers up as well and listen to the music. Share your sentiments with him. Tune in, and there's so much to listen to from Rumbi. In as much as he's saying he's not releasing music or in the studio as much, there's so much in existence from him from a few years back up until this point. And Asante Sana for joining us. I am appreciative of your time and always reaching out and getting the time to sit with me and talk about music and stuff. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Oh, well, man, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my music. I am putting out a bit of music. I do send you a lot of emails, so it's always nice that you can go through them. And when we can organize something, we do organize something. We're trying to do things with other artists as well, so that's nice. Thank you for the people who tune into these lives, man. It's always nice to have a little bit of chatter happening down there. It keeps things exciting. And I always feel like we connect with 2 or 3 people. And I mean, I'm always making music or trying to, so you never know what or who I'll meet there.
Before you leave, plug in Ahadi and what you do.
Oh yeah, at underscore Ahadi, we are a artist development and multimedia company. So we're aiming to push artists. We are focused right now on Southern and Eastern Africa. So if you think your music is worth pushing, and that's where I get critical. So like I will be polite but honest. Uh, we can do amazing things. Where there are a few actually projects that we have on the way. I'm very excited about. One's an indie project and one's like this alt pop R&B. Can't say anything about them yet because they're still being mixed and mastered. But guys, beautiful music's on the way. Hey,
Thank you, the Nairobi Nomad. Thank you, Rumbi. I appreciate your time. Asante Sana.
thank you very much, man.
Uh, that has been another amazing conversation with the one and only Rumbi. Get to tune in to what he has been doing. Na amesema kuna more projects coming out. There is an EP from Rumbi. There is a project, Samples of a True Story from the Nairobi Nomad. We've had about the Afrobeat EP. There are still 13 tracks to be released for the remaining part of 2023. He's been really busy and is such a prolific, multi-talented creative. So Shukran and Naira, Wangu is still insisting collab with the rapper African. Abi Elias ongeza volume says thank you guys for this interview. And I even mentioned Costa earlier, and I was listening to your review, as I said, of those events that happened during Madaraka Day, Madaraka Week, and I was listening to that segment where you were reviewing the jam that happened at the Goethe, as Abi says, Abi, at the Goethe Institute. So I was listening to that, and I believe the person I was talking about earlier knew us through Costa, I think, if my memory serves me right. Memory can be shitty sometimes. And we've had a lot of people joining us, and I'm grateful. Sana, so shukran wangu for being here. It's been a while since you joined our sessions. Umetutupa sana, but thank you for joining this one. Shukran to Wambo, chilling there na kuona. Shukran to Abi. Shukran to Kirigo, that is at Introspective J. Shukran to the Nomad. Shukran to Enaira as well. So Enaira, slide kwa DMs za Rumbi, slide to or in his DMs, and I'm looking forward to what you'll come up with, hata kama ni 10 years from now, because Rumbi is a busy person. I'll be waiting if I make it there alive. This has been beautiful. This has been amazing. Thank you for joining this conversation. As you've heard, the music is out, everything is out. Check out the EP, listen to the music. Please do read the interview that we did as well with the Nairobi Nomad. It is out on the blog, sanaakosana.wordpress.com. Check out the conversation which preceded this one. We have expanded on what we talked about and also touched on things we did not talk about kwa hiyo interview. So please do tune in. But once again, thank you for taking the time and joining this conversation. You can now return to what your life is currently organized into, and keep living and keep surviving and keep existing and keep paying taxes and keep thinking about politics and your politicians and whether we have hopes or not, all of those things. Thank you to fresh_world Karabu Jakes, I believe that is how the name is pronounced. I could be mistaken. International audience. Matipa was here as well, and they said they were available during Rumbi's show where he received a standing ovation. Wangu was insisting, would you feature African, whoever African is, and whatever African does. Tasha Stones was with us as well. Tasha Stones _W ref images, rather. I was supposed to read that otherwise. Ref images, thank you as well. Saint Greg, I think I saw Saint Greg here the other time when we conversed with Rumbi. I could be mistaken, but I think so. My memory is not to be trusted. I don't know how this name is pronounced. YVNDA. Swambo, nakuona kwa sana. Asante. CMC Move, I believe that is it. Could be reading these names wrong. And Ahadi as well was here. So check out Ahadi. That is what Rumbi has talked about as we concluded. And indeed, a man of many hats. Macholo and Naira also joined us. So thank you so much. See you some other time. Nekesa was also here. See you some other time for another conversation. I have returned to interviewing artists and publishing written interviews and blogs. So please do check those out. On Wednesday, we released a conversation and published a conversation with Muthoni Nimimi. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Check that out. It had to do with her debut performance show, Reflective Surface, that happened in March at Santuri in Westlands. So do read that if you have. Thank you so much. And for those who've given me their feedback about that interview, I appreciate it. If you haven't read it, please do tune in and check it out as well. And with that being said, we are done. Mbunge also passed by. Gakere Karaoke also passed by. CCN was also here. So the family was huge, and I am grateful and introspective. J. Aya, kwaheri ya kuonana until next time. Googs amekuja tukimaliza na Nyanchama as well. We are done. It really has been. Abi, maliza thought process yako if you're still here. Ama ulikuwa unajitetea kuhusu Goethe. Let me finish listening to that actually. Oh, and Deeper Connection, Googs uko hapa? Ameenda. I have released a video for a track of their debut EP, Notable Manners, which came out in January. So check out Deeper Connection as well. Nyanchama, thank you for joining. Ngawa, umekuja tukimaliza. It is okay, it is fine. As well as Googs. So check out Sanaa kwa Sanaa everywhere. We are amazing. We are the best.